Before I start this video, I'd like to say thanks to everyone who's been following my work and leaving nice comments. That means a lot to me. I'm a little bit under the weather. It's springtime, and so with the springtime comes the nasal congestion season, and it hits me pretty hard. But without further ado, here is a photo I've been asked to work on. A little family portrait, but what they want is a single or just a headshot for the mother of this photo. And the problem is we have this charming baby making a nice face in front of her. So what I'm going to attempt to do for you live today is convert this into a portrait. And we'll see how it goes, and hopefully it's also relaxing. So what I like to do to start with is kind of compose the thing. If I don't have to work on an area, I don't want to go to that extra effort. So what I'm going to do to start with is I'll press C for crop. Now the crop tool automatically has the rule of thirds built into it. So we get those nice guidelines, and the photographer rule for the rule of thirds is you want something important along these third lines. So that's kind of your rule for composition. So let's take a look at what we can do to have good composition and a good eye line, and also get rid of the baby here and put in some sweater over the top. So I think a good way to start, let's just make an assumption, and that is that the destination size of this photo should be about 5x7. So I'll put in a 5 here and a 7 here, and that will constrain my box to those dimensions. So we want good head clearance because this is meant to be a professional thing. So right in there, and just looking at that, it doesn't look like it'll be too tight. I'm a little worried about the amount of baby that I'll have to remove. So I'm going to tap my arrow key just to center this up a little bit. And here's where we get artistic. Do we want to center her that way? Do we want to center her that way? I think right in the middle is going to be best. So rather than hit enter and commit these changes, what I'm going to do is press Control R and bring in some guidelines. That way, as I'm working, I can still pull from all this extra information that I have here, but I know that I don't need to fix anything that's beyond this guideline. So that's something that saves me a lot of time. So now I'll cancel. All right, so already, yeah, we'll see what we do. So to start with, I'm going to make a new layer, and I'll just call it cover, because I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it yet. I think maybe just duplicating the shoulder and reversing it is going to be my first step. So I'll get the marquee tool, M for marquee, and I'll grab as much of the blouse as I can. Actually, I can be more generous than that. I can go way out to here because it's not going to matter. And I'll press Control-Shift-C to copy that. And that will copy a merged version of all of these layers. And then I'll paste. And then let's transform it. So Control-T for transform. Now, a quick way to do what I'm wanting to accomplish is to put a minus sign in front of the width. and that'll flip the whole thing backward for me. So let's lower the opacity to about 50% and then move this into position and give it a rotate and just try to match this up in a way that, so what I'm going for with this is I want shoulder, because obviously without the baby there, her arm is not going to extend all the way out there. I want it to fall more naturally the way it does on this side. So I'm just kind of lining up that shoulder with a little more natural arm position. And then we'll tweak it so that it doesn't look quite so mirrored. Although I don't know that it'll matter. It's going to fall well outside of our boundary here. So I like to do the broad strokes first. So laying in a whole bunch of new shoulder, that's my broad stroke. So I'm going to raise the opacity back up. And just to expedite the process, I'm going to grab the quick mask tool, the quick selection tool with W, and I'm just going to go along this line here. Now see, already I'm working out here where I don't even need to be worried, but that's just me. It's a little bit of OCD. So with that, I'll hold down the Alt key and add a mask that has all of that blackened out for me. I think it looks pretty all right. Let's zoom in, and just so that I can kind of call one spot done, I'm going to call this foliage, and I've placed it underneath my other layer, so I'm just going to grab a large stamper and I'm going to paint some trees under this shoulder so that I can call it done. I'm really sorry about my voice tonight, guys. I just can't keep it clear at this time of year. All right. Okay, so one shoulder is done. So now let's turn her on and off and see what we need to keep and what we don't need. Okay. I want as much of the original color as possible. I think I'm going to create a fake tip for it in the end. Let's turn this back on, B for brush, and let's start painting all of the extra stuff out. So big brush, medium soft with my shift bracket keys, and let's just eliminate the parts that we're not going to need. So right there, the baby's head is coming in. And we don't need any of this. And we need to create a false front for this middle area. We'll figure that out in a minute. I want to paint this back in a little. Oh, that's all we get is right to there. Ooh, can I fake it? That would be amazing, guys. If I can just fake this edge right now. Oh, it's actually coming together pretty well. I'll have to doctor it, but I'm not actually disappointed with that. Well, let's see. Go along there, and then we need to fix this edge just a little. Nice firm brush. Let's establish a hard line. Well, you and I know that this isn't right, so I'm going to keep working. I don't like some of the transition here, and these flowers, while decorative, are kind of muddy. So I'll see about maybe fixing that later if it's still bugging me, because it's bugging me right now. Just paint through there. Just a little. Yeah, I'm going to revisit this later. We'll see how I'm feeling at the end. I'm just going to try and blend. Now notice I'm not blending the pixels, I'm actually smudging the mask around. So that's the mask that I established. I'm just smudging it around, trying to find the right look. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to fake this bottom edge. So anyway, we'll get to that later, but not too bad. I mean, she's got a baby forearm necktie, but other than that, we have successfully done that fix. So now we just need to work on what is left. Now I asked the client for a second picture where maybe she wasn't holding the baby, and she did not deliver that. So because of that, I'm going to have to get a little bit creative. But let's look. I want to steal some buttons. Yeah, I want to steal some buttons. So let's grab all of this and get rid of it. And all of this can go away too. And let's put a new button there. Yeah, okay. So above my cover layer, I'll make a new layer, Control-Shift-N, and I'll call it buttons. And this is just me roughing in where the buttons ought to be. So I'll press my S for stamper, and I'll just target this button right here. And I want to put it right here. And I know there's a shadow around it. That's something I need to address later. Now, it is an exact clone of this button, but no one should be the wiser because this button is going to be cut in half, and no one will know that it was a duplicate. I'm going to borrow this button now, right where I think it ought to go. So, right in there. And I'll just do a little circle. Okay. Very nice. So, like I said before, we don't have the advantage of seeing more of this blouse or even what the other, well, we want to know what the blouse looks like under here. This little part here seems to be very similar to this part, which doesn't do us any favors, but maybe if we play with it enough, we can sell the illusion. So, that being said, I need to create a hemline going right along here. So it's going to be fake fabric. Maybe I just need to rough it in first. So a lot of people like using the pen tool. I really hate the pen tool. And if you use the polygonal lasso and make enough clicks, it's effectively the same as using the pen tool. And I don't have to worry as much about what's going to happen, at least for what I do. So I'm going to turn on caps lock so that it stops being kind of a less useful cursor. And I just want to rough in where I think this hem would go. So just kind of roughing it in, doing a lot of little clicks and tracing the existing one too. And then we'll cross over and we'll do the same thing on this side. And if these lines aren't perfectly parallel, that's okay, because it's wrinkly fabric. That's part of the look. And if it's not smooth enough, I know the pen tool fans out there aren't going to like that I did it this way, but that's okay because I'm going to mask this and I can make adjustments to make it look better here in a second. So I like to have a guide for this. So let's just make a solid color layer of that selection. And yeah, bright orange is fine. It's as good as anything. And then I'll turn it off. We'll zoom out and we're going to try and find fabric that doesn't match so that we can lay it in there as a separate strip. I will control click my mask, and using L, I'm going to move it down here. I'm going to borrow a chunk of this. I think this chunk might be okay. I'll do a copy and a paste. And now if I turn my orange back on, I can lay it in right over the top and then delete this layer. Okay, let's add a mask. So I click on my little reverse Japanese flag there, and let's mask out the top of this so that it blends together like that. And we need to find a good spot to have these two meet up. Let's go with that for now. Let's see. Oh, I see. I need to put this strip under my buttons. So let's grab buttons and drag them up. There we go. And then we'll mask around the buttons a little bit so that they have a little bit of a dark shadow, but okay. That's going to solve my problems a little bit. There we go. Just doing little clicks around it. Alright. Not too bad for now. Okay, so buttons are on top. Let's smudge my mask a little bit and try to find a good line for this. Just bring that right in. Now, I love the fact that that button is right there on the transition because it acts as a nice distraction for what we're doing here. Okay, now let's do the bottom. So nice soft brush, and let's just make this all meet up like that. Okay. And I want to take that little nip off there. It's bothering me. There we go. Okay. So back to, okay, I need to give this layer a name. I'm going to call it fabric strip. Fabric strip. And then I will put another layer underneath it, and that will remove this little part here. And then we can just work our way to the right. So actually, if I'm going to work my way to the right, I should deal with this gentleman's hair. So we'll go down to the bottom and we'll call it head cover. So I'm just going to borrow some random background and paint it in like that. and you say, oh, that doesn't look good, well, I have a solution. We're going to hit Control T on what I just did. We'll set the pivot point to where her arms sort of goes off the rails, and then we'll just crank it over like so. Okay. I'm going to grab the dodge tool. It's set to midtones, and let's just brighten up this grass so that it matches the grass above. Let's set it to shadows. There we go. Just a little more. Okay, I'm satisfied. It's just a teeny little corner thing. Okay, so again, underneath our fabric strip layer, let's make another one. And you don't have to use this many layers, but it saves me a lot of work when I can just tweak little things at a time, and maybe I'll merge together the ones that are perfect later. So we'll call this, let's see, left side. And I'll grab the clone stamper again. And our little preview shows that it's going to be painting on top of this. It isn't. It's just trying to give us an idea of what we're painting and what it's going to look like. So I'm just going to lay this in under there. Now I don't like that flower that it picked for us, so let's just grab another area. Let's just make this the black fabric. Okay. Alright, so now zooming out and only looking at the left side over here, I think we're okay. I'm going to darken this down just a little bit so that you have kind of the shadow area cast by the bosom just a bit, because you can see that transition all through here, but it's absent right here. So do I want to do it now? Yeah, maybe I want to do it now. Okay. So I will make, let's do a levels layer, and holding down the Alt key I can bring up this little option to slave and master this, so that my changes will only apply to this left side layer that I've made. And I'm just going to darken it down enough. Right there looks pretty good. Before, after. Yeah, I like that. Actually, that might be good as is. I was going to create a transition, but I think I like the whole thing being dark like that. So we will leave it just like that. All right. Now I'm going to select the fabric strip. And I just want to soften my lines a little bit. So we'll go Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And 5 pixels is way too much. Let's set it to 1 1/3. Yeah. I don't know if you can tell on the YouTube preview, but I just need these lines softened just a hair. So maybe as much as 2 pixels. Yeah. So before, after, looks good. I'll have to fix this because that's an artifact of the blurring, but I like it. I like it. So we'll fix that. And we'll fix the bottom as well. Good. Nice and soft. Very nice. to deal with the right side. You always save the nightmare for last, don't you? Yeah, always the nightmare for last. Let's, man, oh man. This is the part where we think. It's a little embarrassing to do all of my thinking in front of an audience, but that's just the way this channel works. I think I'm just going to borrow all of that. Yeah, it's a little bit randomized. It does have a crease here that you wouldn't have up here once it's been transposed up there, but that's all right. Okay, so I'll go to the very, very top and we'll do a selection of this whole thing. Copy merged and paste. This is going to be right side. So now I've got my right side, and we're just going to actually, let's put it underneath the cover. Yeah. We'll put it underneath the cover and then see how much we actually need to fake on this. Okay. Oh, you see what I mean? That fold there is not doing us any favors. So I think I'm going to get really radical here. Okay, so bear with me. We have a shadow on the bottom, or on the top. Here we have a shadow on the bottom. What if we flip this whole thing upside down and use it as a source to cover all of this up? Let's try it. We can always try things. We're working in layers. It's a free country, sort of. Some things are free. Anyway, enough of that. Let's go here and rotate this. And because we're out of fabric, I'm going to cheat and just upscale this fabric a little bit. For all I know, the client will use this as a thumbnail anyway, so I don't know that it's too important. Okay. That flower. That flower is just right there, guys. It's right in the middle of everything. I don't want it to look like two flowers trumpeting out of the middle of her blouse there, but maybe it won't bother her. We'll try this. And if she doesn't like it, we can remind her that we asked for another picture to use as a source. I'm sure she'll love to hear that. Okay. No sour grapes, guys. Okay, I'm turning this off, and we're going to trace this little seam right here. So we'll follow it along. Just finding this line I don't really have to establish because we can use the other mask for this, but okay, so we're going to grab all of that side, and now we will hide it. So holding Alt and clicking on my mask button, and there we are. Scrolling up. To my fabric strip mask. Well, that's not extremely useful. Let's go back down. I'll just do it by hand. So hide that again, and we'll keep tracing a little bit. Just follow that hemmed edge. use the quick selection tool on the background to grab this skin area right here. Okay. And then similarly we will hide all of that too. Okay. Alright. So let's see our before and after. Oh dear. That is still really close. I'm going to unlink the mask from the background because I want to move this up, right up to the edge where this arm starts to come in. So right to there. This is gonna be a close one, guys. This is so close. Okay, so we've got another fake fabric strip that needs to be created right there. So we may as well blend this a little. So nice big brush, make it soft, and we'll just go along here and see if we can find a good place to bring that together. Let's trace this line a little better. So we'll go up to the cover layer. And we'll select all of the white here. Control-Shift-I to invert the selection. And then we will paint all of this out. That's where the sweater layer was covering over the top. Okay, I just want to look at the brightness. Okay, so now looking at it, this is very bright compared to this side. So let's do the same thing. So I'm going to grab my right side layer, Control L, and let's just see what it looks like when I start messing with the levels a little bit. It's kind of dull right there. Dull and dark. That's not too bad. So now that I've done that, we just need to figure out this area right in here. We need to borrow something that doesn't look out of place there because it's a pretty important zone. So let's take a look at we haven't really used this, and I don't see that flower anywhere else, at least not in an obvious way. So that's going to be what I use. Yep, that's going to be what I use. So on top of the right side layer, we're going to place a little bit of this. And because no one has seen this, we're going to rotate it, and nobody will know that it's going the wrong way. So I'm going to set that. Let's see, it's snapping too much, so I'm going to use the arrow keys to line it up just where I want it. Yep, right there. Keeping in mind that we're going to put a fabric strip along here, so none of this will matter, at least where that's concerned. And I'm going to make a selection of the skin again and hide it with a mask. There we go. And now let's just blend along here. So blending, B for brush, and we will blend, 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 blend. Oops, too high. Reverse, reverse. Okay, right there I want it very small. Oh, guys. I don't know if you're envisioning what I'm envisioning, but I'm very happy right now. That's looking actually really good. So we gotta fix the collar. So we'll hide all of that through there. And trace a line right along there. Oops, too high. Let's go lower with it. You know, that's not too bad. It can be nerve-wracking making these videos where we don't know going in what's going to happen, but this has been a fun adventure with you guys. Alright, I like it. So now, you know, most people wouldn't even worry about that strip, and maybe I don't need to. Maybe I don't need to. Yeah, let's do it. It'll be fun for you guys. So, because it's a little further away, it's going to be a more narrow strip. So I'm just kind of creating a cookie cutter right now. And then I'll try to find an adequate source for it. So going up and up and up. And right here, I think it gets, this fabric strip's going to get a little crunched against her neck. And then it's going to open slightly, slightly, until right here it's full width. Okay. All right. So I spent a good amount of time making that. So because of that, I want to make sure that I can get this mask back if I need it. So we'll make a bright orange version of it. And make that selection. And let's go shopping for fabric. Do a little fabric shopping. Let's see, how different is that from, no, that's too similar. Let's go over here. Okay. So Control-Shift-C to make a merged copy, and then paste. And we can change our minds, but we want to try things here just to see. So I'm going to hold down Control to make a selection on that and then throw a mask around it, and what that'll allow me to do is just kind of fudge these edges a little bit. So we'll just hide that in there a little. do what I did before and apply a blur. So Control F or Control Shift F on the new version. And we're just going to nope, that was wrong. Think about like that. Oh, guys, that is a fake collar. Sometimes you just have to look at what you did and realize that it's not 100% perfect, but most people won't know. Wow, that's cool. Okay, well, enough of that. Let's take one last look at this thing because I'm not happy with it still. So I'm going to borrow, what do I want to borrow? Maybe just some black. Okay, so this will be my topmost layer, and I'll call it collar tip. And we'll borrow, maybe we'll borrow some of this. Like that. And we'll hide it a little bit, make a crisp edge through there, crisp edge around there. And let's give this a little more of an irregular shape. I'm content with that. Cool. Cool, cool. Thanks as always, everyone, for tuning in. I hope to do something fun in my next video, but in the meantime, stay relaxed, stay calm, and just remember that everything, no matter how daunting, tends to work out for the best in the end. So, I'm calling this photo done. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll crop this and send it to her. Have an awesome, awesome day.